Hi, and welcome to the Zero Emissions Think Tank. We thank you for taking the time to participate in our campaign. Studies have shown that the switching from coal plants to renewable energy can cut enough greenhouse gas emissions in order to achieve the 1.5 degrees goal. The purpose of the Switch Coal campaign is therefore to gather data on wind and solar capacities to show coal stations how profitable it would be for them to switch into renewable energies. But we need your help to collect that data. All you need to do is follow these simple steps. Please try another browser or computer if your first attempt is not successful.
So after these preparations, let's start off now with the actual work. First, we scroll down a bit on our website. Then we have to select the country at first. Let's take, say, Brazil. Next, we must select a province within that country. Let's take Maranhão. I'm not that sure about the pronunciation, but that should hardly matter. And then we must select the concrete coal plant. Let's take this one. By this, the backend program fills in the corresponding location as visible here and the latitude, longitude position, so the concrete position of the coal plant selected. We need this for the further processing, therefore let's copy it to our clipboard. And as our next step, we go to the global solar atlas map. Up here, we put in the selected position value. And with return, we enter this value so that the map can zoom into the concrete position. We see it here, obviously sited somewhere on a peninsula at the coastline, likely in northern Brazil. Next, we have to make sure that the scale down here at the bottom left shows the right measuring unit. We want this to be or to show 10 kilometers. Now it's set to 5 kilometers, so we go up here and zoom down one or several times. We see that one time already does what we need. Now the measurement unit shows 10 kilometers. And so our work for solar is almost done. What's left? We had to read out the specific photovoltaic power output as indicated here. So this is 1562.4 kilowatts per hour. Just copy it or keep it in mind. And with that, we go back to our website and paste the value in here now. Please note that the notation must be correct. The digits have to be separated by a dot, not a comma. Now there's only one step left to finish off with the processing for solar. It's a bit more complicated for wind. We come to this later on. We go back for this final step to the global solar atlas. And by pressing print on your keyboard, you can prepare yourself to take a screenshot. Then I choose, for instance, MS Paint or a similar program. Oh, there was a, didn't work at first. Give me a second. Now, and put in what we have selected here. And finally, save it as a JPEG format. By the by, the captions in our tools here are in German by chance because this is a computer installed in German, but this should not hamper us much. So choose Save As JPEG picture. Title can be solar, let's say selected solar map. All right. I save it in a folder and then I go to that folder. Give me a second. I've prepared this already beforehand. Take this via copy and going back to our website, paste it in here. No, sorry, I have to choose the right folder once again. Select it here this way, say open, and now you see that it's uploaded to our backend program. So once done, it's already done as seen here by the bar at the bottom. We can proceed now with wind, with the processing for the wind energy. Again, we go to the corresponding map. No, first of all, we have to go one step back because we have applied the copy and paste function differently. So we press here again, copy to clipboard, since this value is also needed for processing the wind energy. Up here, we put in that value, and by pressing return, also this map now zooms in the map to position us at the indicated site. Again, we want to proceed here with a measuring unit of 10 kilometers. Actually, it's set to 3 kilometers, so applying this button one or several times, we adjust this as much as needed. Now it fits. By the by, let's map out this legend. It's not needed anymore and might hamper us a bit in the further processing. In contrast to solar energy, we face two issues when it comes to detecting the wind energy. For one thing, the local variance is way higher than with solar energy. The potential energy yields can be seen via this scale. Light blue means there's almost nothing, and red close to violet means that there are optimal conditions. So, or in brief, the more dark red the color, the better the wind conditions. And by knowing this, we see that there are huge differences locally. For instance, here the wind conditions are pretty good, obviously, whereas, say, here in the yellow parts, they are way lower. So in order to find appropriate sites to put their wind turbines on later on, we have to take this into account carefully. And next, and combined with this, we must avoid water planes. The map by default indicates coastlines or lake lines as well. However, sometimes you may wonder, is this really a coast or lake line? To see this clearer, it's advisable to zoom out a bit, say a couple of times, and now it gets, from my perspective, absolutely clear this is indeed a coastline. Yeah. Keeping this in mind, we zoom in again until the measurement unit down here indicates 10 kilometers again. By keeping this in mind, I mean, for a couple of technical reasons, we don't want to or can't deploy wind turbines offshore on water planes. Therefore, the potential wind energy over water planes must not be included in our further assessment. Yeah. And therefore, it's important to keep in mind where the coastline is. Uh, by the way, this is east with the fact that normally the water planes show uniform wind energy potentials and higher wind energy potentials than the land areas, as visible here well too. Now, I mask out this by the by as well to have a complete view on this. Now we want to make sure that we find not just one, but say a handful of suitable places for deploying wind turbines later on. At first, to have the concrete view from a technical perspective, let's switch this scale from 100 meters. This indicates the intended height of wind turbines to 150. Yeah. By this picture already changes considerably because the general rule applies: the higher the altitude, the better the wind conditions. So once again, the task is now to find 5 sites, a handful of sites with appropriate and optimal conditions for deploying wind turbines later on. We recommend that you apply now this draw rectangle by pressing this button, and first of all try to find a square approximately 10 by 10 kilometers in size close to the coal plant site, as visible still here on the one hand, and with best wind conditions within this selected area on the other hand. Having an assessment by site, I would say that such conditions given in a handful of places would be indicated by, say, a mean yellow. So this may be an appropriate area already. So I hold the left mouse key pressed in order to expand now a square, and the caption at the legend indicates the size until I end up with approximately. It doesn't depend exactly to be 10 by 10 kilometers, so that we end up with 10 by 10 kilometers approximately. For technical reasons, the program, the map zooms in there then by default, so we have to zoom out again until the measurement unit indicates 10 kilometers again down here. And again, mask out this legend. So this is our first square. And now, just by sight and imaginary, let's choose four analogous squares with the same energy potential. This can be found, for instance, here. By the way, these other squares should be sited somewhere else in the selected area and not too close to the first square. So selecting, for instance, another one here would not do, whereas another one here is a good choice. So let's say we choose this area for our second square and maybe down here for our, or here for our third, over here for our fourth, and maybe up here for our fifth. Yeah. So now by sight and imaginary, we have selected in total 5 squares with the same energy potential. By the by, it's visible here at the very coastline that potentially the wind energy output may be even better. So why not choosing this area? On the one hand, deploying wind turbines at the very coast or at small islands as here or there may be very tricky. Therefore, we want to omit that. And on the other hand, by following our guidance to find 5 squares over the selected area, this subset of the selected area is just too small to comply with that guideline. Yeah. And therefore, in spite of the fact that the wind conditions are even better there, I mean here, 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 and there, we don't take this into account. So having done this, now we are almost done with wind as well. We only have to weed out now, as the last but one step, the wind energy, the potential wind energy that can be gathered by deploying wind turbines here. It's visible here in this value, 6.75 meters per second. Keep it in mind. Again, heed the notation, digits separated by a dot, not comma. And with this in mind, go over here and put in the chosen selected wind energy value. Yeah. And finally, once again, we need a screenshot of this. So I press print, open MS Paint, and paste the selected map in MS Paint, and finally save it again as a JPEG file. Let's name it selected, sorry, it's typo, selected wind map. Okay, I go back to the website again, and now I choose selected wind map, the stored image in the folder for this. Again, open it. It's got uploaded again, and now congratulations, we are through with the processing for detecting the solar energy potential and the wind energy. Ultimately, what's left, we have to, or you should put in some basic personal data. It's already pre-selected here because we tested this beforehand, but this should not disturb us. Yeah, please confirm your selections. Either be part in our study by name in the publication of it later on, if you agree to that, or alternatively prefer to stay anonymous. And then put in a nickname and just choose whether you want to subscribe to our newsletter or not. Let's choose, for instance, here, no, thank you. Yeah, thanks. That's it. The final step is now to check all the entries. Once again, is everything filled in properly? All looks fine. And then just press submit. And now the backend program replies with your responses were successfully submitted. Thank you. And that's also what we have to say to you. Thanks a lot to you, to your valuable contributions to our important study. If you like, you can proceed starting over again with the next coal plant. And believe us, the more often you do it, the faster you can do the processing as well. Thanks again from our part, and let's continue with elaborating this important study. Bye.